wife got me the what is it? The digital bagpipe, Flagerstorm,
Flagerstorm, yeah, whatever that is.
So I had to get an audio interface that took MIDI controllers so that I could like plug it in and jam on the computer.
Yeah.
So I had to buy a second interface, and so I've got two, and then I had all the mics for the podcast. So,
you ever use that as a MIDI controller for other instruments? You know, like bring up GarageBand or something.
No, I'm running Windows, and the only thing I have is I paid and bought Universal Piper. I don't know if you've seen that software before, but basically it has a bunch of recordings of old Glens, old Hendersons, old Lowrys, small pipes, Highland pipes, and you can go in and select what you want to play, and drones or no drones. You can change pitch and things like that. So
that is pretty cool. That's exactly what's making me want some red pipes or some or one of them there
Blair.
One of them there Blairs.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Well, thanks for being willing to do this, man. Sorry for the short notice.
No, you're fine.
I appreciate you being willing to jump right on it. Well, let's see here. You and I have kind of done this before because you did that kind of test podcast with me. What has it been a whole year? Was it last fall?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Man, the older I get, the faster time moves, huh?
It may have even been.
Has it been longer than that? No way.
I'm trying to think about Wasatch. Like, I got into Wasatch. I tried out in like September, and then we started up in October. And I just don't know if it happened before or after I was in Wasatch. But
we might have mentioned it in it. We could probably go back and listen to the episode. Or the recording, rather. Yeah. Well, hey, man. I don't mean to be repetitive and stuff, but let's do that. What's here we are. Okay, so here's one thing I was thinking about today, and maybe we're not diving into this yet. I need to be able to put like a title and write up for each episode.
Yep.
So do I put like Mike, Wasatch District? Because is that the interest point that like here are interviews with people from Garden Valley, here are interviews with people from Wasatch District, etc. Or do I put Swan, and just let everybody pick their own nickname? Or do I put Mike Bagpiper? You know what I mean?
Where are you putting the write up?
Well, I haven't looked at all the different stuff yet.
But you're talking about on the hosting platform,
right? If I host it on Podbean, then it's basically got like a little page for each episode.
Yeah, you're gonna have a description for the feed for the episode. Mm-hmm. So in the description, Mike Swan is a bagpiper at the Wasatch District, or Mike Swan, bagpiper at Wasatch District pipeband, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think with all of your people, you can start with their name, and then I would put kind of what it is they do, and maybe we can expand beyond drummers and pipers, right? Maybe it's gonna be like mom of two bagpipers, or whatever.
Yeah.
However you do whatever you do, but
that's a good idea. Like, I think we've talked about it before that, like I've out of necessity started to subscribe more and more to this idea that done is better than perfect, and just get it done, just get something going. But at some point, at points like this, you do have to kind of pause and make a little plan. And so I'm trying to think like, what's a format that can be usable forever, for all the rest of the episodes. So like if this episode is called Mike Swan, and then in the write up it's Mike Swan is a piper with Wasatch District, etc.
Oh, I see what you're saying, like the actual title of the episode.
Right. Or do I put Mike Swan, Wasatch District? So then as you scroll through, you can see everybody who's been interviewed with Wasatch District, or everybody who's been interviewed with the WUSPBA board, or, whatever it is, whatever entity they're from.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying. I think the more interesting point should be that person rather than what organization they're with. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah, it's that could be it's like a branding decision that we're talking about people here, yes. not necessarily organizations.
Right.
Excellent point.
That's my thought, but it's your cast. Right?
I don't know, man. I don't know if I would. I definitely wouldn't be doing this if you hadn't said, hey, because we're so. All right, maybe this is where the podcast starts. That you're a good friend of mine who I trust a lot, and we were talking once without hot wings, unfortunately, but we were just talking. And I mentioned to you that I had told the leaders, the band leadership in Garden Valley, that I'd try to think of something to do to kind of help us all feel connected and involved during this COVID stuff.
Right.
And you were like, hey, do that podcast. Because you and I had talked about podcasting before.
Yeah, well, like for me, it's definitely it's definitely like one of my pastimes, one of my hobbies. I don't really listen to the radio. I just plug into podcasts every morning and download like the newest thing. But I think in listening to different people's podcasts, especially like the Joe Rogan format, or to bring it back to like piping related things, like Andrew Douglas on the Piper's Dojo when he does the long form interviews.
I love those. Yeah.
Right, exactly. There's so much to be gained about like learning about people and their uniqueness and what they've gone through and how they've come to where they've gotten. And like I think that's more, I shouldn't say more valuable, but like at times, at times I want recipes. I want like step-by-step instructions on how to do things, improve, or how to get to where I'm going, whatever my goal is. And other times it's just learning more about the other side of the fence or someone else's view, or learning about where somebody is and where their thought process is, right? There's more interesting aspects in the person. So I guess there's two fields, right? You can go for the end goal of a result, or you can go for, let's learn about somebody, let's expand our horizon, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what the long form is. And I think that's like Joe Rogan.
Duncan Trussell.
Yeah, right.
All the
and
spin-offs from Joe, basically.
Yeah, but, and not, like, I know he's the most popular podcast out there, and so, like, I don't want to, like, just stick it to him.
Right.
Is the one example, but I listen to podcasts that are all about marketing. And the podcast will be specifically just, here's the marketing technique, here's how we did it, here's our results, here's where we failed, here's things to look out for, how to implement it. It's that step-by-step, it's that recipe, it's, follow in my footsteps. And then there's the other things, the other podcasts that I listen to, and they're more, what's the word I'm trying to say? I stick with them longer, right? Like those marketing podcasts, I get really amped up and I listen to them for a couple months and then I kind of drop them and replace them with something else. But then there's like the juicy ones where it's like, you're just getting to know somebody, right? And while you're not in the same room with them, like that relationship kind of builds, or at least you get into their life. Similarly to like why celebrity is celebrity, right? You've gotten into their life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go both ways, right? Hollywood isn't in our lives, which is why it's awkward when fans approach them or like, do crazy things, because they think mentally they're on this one level with that celebrity because you've seen their intimate side and you've been in their house or they're in their life anyway.
Right. The fan feels like they've known them for years. They've known the celebrity for years and know them well. Yeah.
So I think that's kind of my thought process when I suggested doing the podcast, right? Is like getting to know where everyone's come from. Like I would say I know a good chunk of your story, of Diana's story, of Sean's story, of Alex, of his story, but like even Susan, like I played with Susan for a number of years, right? But I guess there's a big gap from before I started playing. Like when I joined in to White Peaks, she was there. So yeah, going back and having that distribution of everyone's story, I think is really positive and beneficial in creating camaraderie, or at least, letting people see things from your point of view.
Well, I can tell you that at this point right now, I've interviewed, as we're recording this, I've interviewed 9 people, and it's been nothing but awesome for me. I've loved getting to know everybody a little more. And that's people who are relatively new to the band, who I didn't know outside of Garden Valley Pipe Band, and also people who I've known, like in Diana's case, I've at least kind of known her since I was a kid,
Right.
and still I learned new things about her. So it is a lot of fun. I'm really glad you poked me in this direction. It's been a lot of fun already.
Yeah, of course.
And to that note, I mean, picking up right there, when you started playing with White Peaks and Susan was already there, is that where your piping started, or did you start elsewhere?
No, before that. So I can kind of give you like a little rundown, right?
Yeah, pick me up like if it's when you were 3 years old and you heard your first bagpipe, go back that far. However far back it goes, take it back.
Okay, you want me to give you like a quick, fast overview, and you want to interject, and we can stop and expand, or do you want to give me like, you want me to give you like a deep dive, or how do you want me to?
How about give me kind of an overview version, and I'll pause you and ask questions as you go through.
Okay, cool. So bagpipes for me have just always been the coolest thing, and I mean I guess I probably thought they were just awesome, but like there's probably influence there too. Like I remember my dad telling me how much he liked the pipes, but always in a parade, like that was what I looked for, or at least, you know, I thought the floats were cool. You know, I'm 6 years old. It's cool. It's whatever. But there was definitely like when you hear the pipes 3 blocks down the street, like you're looking forward to those more than just some float, some boat, or some marching band or something. But so then I moved to Santa Quinn. I'm going to Payson and get exposed to piping and drumming there, right? Because the high school has the band. Right.
That actually, Swan, if you don't mind, we might actually use your story to help explain a few things. Like a lot of the other interviews that are going to be on here that people listen to, they'll hear things like about Payson or about Dawn, etc. And maybe there's not an explanation of what these things or people are. So maybe that's useful. So Payson High School has a high school pipe band, and at least when you were a kid, there was also a junior high chanter class, right?
Yeah. So when I got into it, so I should say first off, like I knew I wanted to learn pipes, and so registration comes. I guess I'm in 7th grade, so I'm in the middle school, and it's like select the classes you want for the next year, right? And so you select them, and you know you don't know if you're going to get them or you're not. Depends on how many they can fit in the class. So at the end of summer, we're getting ready to start 8th grade, and I get my schedule in the mail from the junior high, and it has the bagpipe class listed, right? And I guess I didn't understand the whole organization of like the high school having the band and things like that, but I knew that bagpipes was an option when I was registering for classes, and I wanted to, so I selected it. And I guess I didn't even know what a practice chanter was. I guess I thought I'd probably be learning big bagpipes. I don't know. I just wanted to get into it. And I guess it's hard for me to figure out what happened when. I know at some point I saw tenor drummers, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And I was like, I didn't know they were called mallets, right? I want to spin the drumsticks. I want to spin the mallets. I want to play tenor drums. And so that was in my mind. And I don't know if that happened when I was in junior high or if it was after I started learning bagpipes. I think it had to have been before, because I remember thinking like, I'll get into the bagpipe class and that will be my foot in the door. And then I can get into tenor drumming. But anyway, so 8th grade, I'm going to take the bagpipe class. And so now this, I guess, is pretty unique, right? There's only, at this time, maybe even still, there was only 2 high schools that were teaching bagpipes, like within the high school program.
That's at least in Utah, right?
In Utah. That's what
there might have been some others in California, but yeah, at least here in Utah.
Yeah, you know, so in Utah, right? It was Ben Lomond and Payson. And so so that's built into it, right? And they had a beginning chanter class, and at the time, Lynette Etheridge was the instructor, and I know she had been the year previous as well, and she was the high school instructor for the band. And so it was kind of like, you know, get them in the system, get them on the practice chanter. You've got a year, or you've got 2 years if you go 8th and 9th grade, and then you get into the high school. And so like that made an easy transition to go playing full pipes with the high school. So
that was all Lynette from the time you started to when you joined the pipe band. It would be all Lynette running it.
The high school program, yeah. So, James, I don't know if you just changed something, but you're coming through pretty quietly. So,
How's this? Is this any better?
Yeah. I just don't want you to get mixed audio.
No, I appreciate that. I actually changed a setting on the Snowball. I just could see in the monitor that I was getting a bunch of like static sound.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Does it sound like now
good.
I need a pop filter, or is it coming through okay?
No, I mean, just turn your head slightly when you do plosives and it should be good. So, Lynette had just had her baby. And so she was not there at the beginning of the year. So Don Smith, he was taking over the chanter class for a number of weeks until Lynette came back from maternity leave.
And Don Smith, he was a junior high math teacher.
Correct. Yep.
But also the founder and pipe major / runner of White Peaks.
Of White Peaks, right.
Based in Payson.
Yeah. So, my understanding, and I guess I can kind of get that in a minute, but like my understanding is that, you go through the high school program and there's nowhere left for you to go close by, right? You can go up to Salt Lake Valley or something and play. And so, Don put together White Peaks, and then I'm sure he's got his own ambitions, right? And his own desires. Like he likes bagpiping and to start your own band and run your own band and to grow that and succeed. So like, I'm sure that has to be in your mind as well. But, he picked up a number of pipers that were they'd gone through the program. They knew how to play, and they just were left around and nothing close by. So anyway, he was teaching the class. That goes on for a number of weeks. Lynette Etheridge comes back. She takes the class back over. I go through that. And I mean, that was only like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that before she was back. So not even a full term or semester in school. And then she was back to it. Come January, I tried out for the high school for the band. So I'd gotten my set of pipes. That's what I'd asked for Christmas. My parents were gracious enough to get me a set.
And how old were you this time?
So that was 2000. I was in 8th grade. How old are you in 8th grade? 14 or 15?
Yeah,
I guess I could do math, right? I was born in 87, so I was around 13 or 14. And so then, so go to the high school program, tried out, got to the high school program, played there for a couple of years. Lynette ended up moving out of state, and then Carrie Welton came in as an instructor. And at the same time, I had been playing with White Peaks, right? So I'm playing with the high school. I'm out of the junior high class. I'm into the full high school band. It's now like 10th grade, 11th grade or something. Lynette leaves. Carrie Welton, which was a previous pipe instructor, she came back in to make sure there was an instructor. I remember her saying that she'd heard that there was no instructor and no one to take over, and I remember her saying something to the effect of like, I'm not going to let the Payson program like fail or disappear or whatever. So she stepped in.
Right. So she had run the program. Lynette had taken over the program. Now Lynette
Correct.
was leaving, so Carrie came back to keep it alive.
My understanding, yeah. And I remember when I was playing with White Peaks. So Lynette was also playing with White Peaks at some point, and then she'd stopped playing with them. And I was playing with White Peaks. Heather Herbert was my pipe major, a year older than me.
She taught me how to play.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, that's where I learned, was in Heather's basement.
Very nice. Yeah. So she was playing with White Peaks. I forget if anyone else was.
I bet Sean was. Do you think Sean would have been by then?
I think so. And Amber at some point. Like they all
Amber,
made it there at some point. I just don't remember what was happening. I remember it was a very touchy thing. Like.
Oh, Vera. Didn't Vera go play with the White Peaks instead of the high school pipe band?
I don't know. Like, I think Vera and I have a bigger age gap than would span high school.
I see. So maybe the years don't quite line up there.
Yeah. But I remember Don saying things like, I guess I'm probably getting too deep into the subject. I'm supposed to be giving you a quick overview. Well, anyway, playing with Bagpipes, playing with the high school. I ended up dropping the high school in like 11th grade, I think is when it was. Play with Bagpipes for a number of years, go on a mission, come back, play with them for a couple of years, start university, and that's when things got a little bit wild as far as scheduling goes, and so I couldn't do it. I stopped.
That was Utah Valley University, UVU?
Correct, yep.
No bagpipe program there yet.
Nothing yet, right. So then I ended up, well, I guess I didn't play for like 8 years.
That's a long break. Were you playing, did you get them out yourself sometimes?
So,
or were they pretty much in the closet?
Yeah, no, of course, like every girl you date's like, when they find out, they think it's cool.
Right, you got to get
Or
them
they
out
at least, they pretend that it's cool. They're like, you have to show me, right? And so, you do that. And then, funerals here and there.
Do you have
memorials.
any family members who in particular really liked it? So they'd be like, family reunions or something like that. They'd be like, hey, Mike, bring your pipes.
On my dad's side, we had a family reunion a couple times that, where they do talent shows. And I played at them. And yes, like, it's one of those, like, I also wasn't, like, I didn't throw it out in people's faces. Like, I'm very cautious about how loud they are. So I don't like to play, like, in my house. I don't like to play around people. And I'm fine if people want to come up and listen, and I mean, that's cool. It's like, I don't want to show up at a park where somebody is playing with their kids and all of a sudden 110 decibels later, like, they're annoyed, right? So
yeah.
So
you're not one, like, I'll admit to be who like puts huge bagpipe stickers on their car, and all their email addresses since they were 12 years old have been like bagpiper number one. And
I mean, I wouldn't say that, right? Like I have an email address that has Piper in the name, right?
Everybody's got to have at least one.
Yeah, exactly. So, and like my retainer from my braces has the White Peaks logo.
Oh, does it really?
That's the retainer.
Awesome.
Yeah, like. I got a little
was
stupid
that
obsessive.
the running bagpiper, the stick figure logo?
That's right, yeah.
I've got a t-shirt with that on it.
Yep. So, like, yes, I've done stupid things, right? Not stupid, but like, it's a culture that I love,
stupid,
right?
But yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
But as far as playing the instrument, right? I wasn't just so loud. It's like, I gotta play where no one can hear me. So, but anyway, so, I do some funerals. I do some memorials, like, once a year for Memorial Day. My cousin, he's part of a motorcycle club, and they organize the ride for the fallen soldier. And anyway, it ends up going up to the Veterans Cemetery up at the point of the mountain. And I play my bagpipes for that while they put flags on the graves and things like that.
That's pretty cool. Do you still do that now, or was that more, something?
He hasn't. They didn't do it last year, and then with COVID, they didn't do it this year.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not sure what happened last year. If it's something they've stopped. It did get kind of repetitive, and I don't mean that in a bad way. But one thing that they were doing as a tradition every year is they would take Gold Star families, which are families who's lost somebody in the military, right?
Right.
And the Gold Star families would get up and talk about that person. There was a family there that lost a son, and somebody there that lost a husband. And so you're also only within the crowd of people that are riding motorcycles, right? So there's only, local, rides a motorcycle, Gold Star family. There's only so many that fit that criteria.
Yeah, I got you.
So like after 4 or 5 years, it's like, and I don't mean this in any negative way, but it is the same story. It is the same families. And I wasn't annoyed by that. And I wasn't like, why are we doing this again? I've heard this. Like, utmost respect. But I don't know if that had a part to do with it, that it's just kind of like, it's a repetitive thing. Or maybe not. Maybe just scheduling. Maybe it's too expensive to organize the event. I don't know. But they didn't do it 2 years ago. And then I'm assuming this year, if they had plans, COVID stopped it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's a lot of bagpiping stories between then and where I'm going to now. But as far as my piping journey, when Zach died,
yeah,
right, that's where I'm going. Pulled out my pipes to play at the funeral along with like every other bagpiper in the state, and just realized like how much I missed it and how much I missed the camaraderie and the friendship and how much I enjoyed playing. And that's really what got me like kickstarted. And like I had played once or twice. Like I had gone to a practice that with Garden Valley. I ran into him at one of the Scottish festivals because, I'd still show up to the Scottish festivals and hang out. I really liked the culture and the pipes and the music. So he invited me out to a practice, and I came to one, but I didn't stick around to play with the band.
Yeah, I remember when you came, and I was all excited to see you. But then we also were shorthanded for teachers, and so we were like, Mike, could you help us teach? And then I was kind of like, man, I don't know if that was the best impression to make on a guy if we wanted to get him back into piping. Like, come volunteer for us,
No, like, no, pipe. It wasn't a big deal. Like I didn't mind that. I mean, that was one of the things White Peaks did too, right? Is they taught before.
Yeah, I went to those classes when I was a kid.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the first time I met you was actually at Heather Herbert's house because you were hanging out over there cooking bacon, if I remember correctly.
That sounds like me.
Burnt to a crisp. Then you wrapped it up. Then you wrapped it up in a paper towel to get rid of every last little bit of anything even resembling liquid, and then you would dig in. I think that was the first time I met you. But shortly thereafter,
that definitely sounds exactly like me. Although I have evolved, right? Now I see that liquid grease as flavor. But it's still crispy. Crispy bacon.
Actually, and not to throw it off the tracks, but I do remember as I got to know you better at White Peaks during those classes, because Zach and Diana and I would go to those lessons before the practice when we were playing with the high school band, and you were the one who told me that I was gripping my chanter too hard, and that I needed to think of it as a varnished turd.
Mm-hmm.
And I have used that with every single student I've ever had ever since. I mean, that sticks with you.
Yeah. But it's not something original that I came up with either, right? Like Don instructed me.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure it goes back beyond Don to the primordial origins of the bagpipe.
It's piping lore.
Yeah, that's part of the lore. This is back to the swamps of Syria or wherever the bagpipe first came into being, for sure.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so after Zach's funeral, and I decided I missed it too much, I came back to play with Garden Valley. Played with them for a season, and then, and like I say, we can get into more details and everything, but at the end of that season, tried out with the Wasatch group for their grade 2, and that's currently where I'm at.
And congrats, by the way. That's
Thank you.
And I talked about it with Sean a little bit, just because most of this audience is going to be Garden Valley. I'm sure they all will agree with me that everybody really likes you. And
with that,
nobody feels upset about you going to play with the grade 2 band. That's a great opportunity.
I'm glad.
Everybody's cheering you on.
I'm glad. Thank you. Also, I don't know that everybody likes me. And thirdly, if Kevin listens to this, when making bacon pancakes, you have to cook the bacon first. Right? Just to wrap that bacon comment back in there.
I thought you were going to say, if Kevin's listening to this, get back on your pipes.
Kevin, get back on your pipes. Come back and play.
Cool, man. That's an excellent overview. Thank you.
Yes, and it's that's 20 years condensed. So
super condensed.
Wherever you want to go, we can take this.
Well, I'm curious. So we've hit the bands, but I'm curious about your soloing. Do you play a lot of solos, or is it something that you prefer to not focus on so much because you're focused? I mean, I'm sure right now you're very focused on the grade 2 material. Yeah. But in general.
So I never really soloed. I soloed when I was playing with White Peaks after I got back from my mission. I soloed at 2 events.
And that was it, huh?
That was it.
So in more recent years, when you've done, like, I know you did the Glen Wild. We were both there at Jeff Mann's Glen Wild concert series. That
was my 5th solo ever.
Wowzer, really?
Yes.
You did the 6/8, I remember. Pembroke of Donald Dew.
Correct.
One of my favorite tunes.
Yep. Yeah, so I played a couple solos. I played at Salt Lake. Wow, let's see. Let me see if I got this right. I know I played in Salt Lake. I played in Payson. That was like 2009 or 2010. And then in 2018 with Garden Valley. 2019? What year is it now? or 2020?
2020. Can't forget that, man.
So 2019 I soloed twice. Salt Lake, Payson, and then the Glen Wild. So
what are your, I'm sure, is your immediate future kind of plans mostly to focus on grade 2 competition with the band, or are you looking forward to doing the solo game? Are you trying to get into like a bagpipe rock band, small pipes? What's kind of your, what are kind of your focuses, your hopes, your dreams right now?
So I do want to get into solos. I can't focus on it right now. I shouldn't say that. I don't have the time. I've only got so much bandwidth, right? So much time. As it stands, I have to show up to grade 2, like, ready to go and on top of everything.
Yeah, I'd
like
imagine.
one of it's first off, it's like gotta make a good impression. I'm the new guy. Second off is like I've never played at this level, and it's an entirely different commitment. And so it's like I have to, like, not only is it harder music, I have to have 30 tunes ready to go.
Good heavens. Is that hyperbole, or is it literally 30 tunes?
No, it's actually more. So
good heavens.
It's 30 tunes that are like unique to us, and then there's all the mass band stuff, which I wouldn't say I don't count, but like that's not something I even play at rehearsal or is on my mind. But
I've wondered before, though, like with a grade 2 band, is there any emphasis put on playing those mass band tunes like all the same? Because, like most bands, you just, you know what I mean? Like you don't really have to play it all the same. You just kind of play it.
I know what you're saying. So yeah, definitely. Like when I got in, we used Green Hills as a warm-up tune and also as a tuning tune and exercise.
That makes sense. There's a lot of top hand in there. That makes sense.
Yeah. So and like the bottom,
Sing it for me.
Let's see. Sing it for you.
Go on.
I don't have a good voice. How about this? I'll play a little bit. I have my chanter right here. Except that was, cold hands, and that's pretty crappy.
Oh, you don't even make excuses. That sounded great. That was grade 2 right there.
Right. Let me switch out to a different reed, different chanter. Is that even Greasy Hills? For all I know, that's probably Battles Over. No,
or
not.
Barren Rocks, or
no. Anyway, but so we use that to tune because you got the first part and the second part, and we make a little splice rearranged tune specifically that we just use to test bottom and top hands. But yes, I remember playing Green Hills right from the get-go, and they were like, "Okay, we play it like this. You're playing it wrong." Okay, Ooh. Sounds good. Make the correction. But that was kind of like the extent of it, and it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because like I was shadowing. I was Stuart Little's steward, right? Just like you have a steward at the games for the judge.
Right.
So a couple weeks ago, for an online session, I was Stuart Little's steward, and
that's fun.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a very, very cool experience.
I mean, it's cool. It's also cool to say that you're the steward.
Stuart Little steward. Yeah, the steward to Stuart Little.
I'm the little steward for Stuart Little.
But I remember him saying to a group that he was talking to that sometimes when Inverarian District plays those massed band tunes, it's pretty embarrassing for him as the pipe major of...
Oh, really?
Like, those weren't the exact words. I forget exactly what he said, but that was the feeling that he was getting off. Like, he was saying, like, it made him cringe, or, like, it hurt his ears, or something like that. Something along the lines of, like, yeah, sometimes, even though it's super easy, people just kick back, and they're like, I'm phoning this one in. I've got it. Right? So, and sometimes that happens, yes.
Well, that's comforting, honestly, because now I feel like we're in really good company.
Yeah.
We're just like Inverarian
sometimes it's
District,
like that with the band, right? But so outside of like those common tunes, we've got 30 tunes that I have to get ready. So yes, I want to solo, and I think that I guess I have a personal goal to get to a grade 1 solo level. That's my current goal, and perhaps that will evolve as I go down the road. But more than, like, even right now, I'm playing with a grade 2 band, but I don't know if I would consider myself a grade 2 piper until I get a couple of judging sheets that put me playing at grade level, right?
Yeah, I have wondered about that, if that changes as you go up through the grade levels, because in general, with grade 5, you'll have a mixture of, probably grade 3 to grade 5 soloists playing in a grade 5 band. But it seems to me like once you hit grade 4, a lot of your pipers are going to be grade 3 soloists. Grade 3, a lot of them are going to be grade 2 soloists. In general, and maybe this is an incorrect perception of my own, but it seems like in general you're going to solo a grade above where your band playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But maybe that's not the case once you get to grade 2.
I think it's a good rule of thumb, but don't carve it in stone, right?
Sure.
Because and that's definitely how we are. Like we've got grade 1 pipers. We've got. I don't know that anyone in our band is. I don't think anyone's open, but Ross and Justin. I mean, they might deny it, but there are a couple people that I've talked to in our band that are like, yeah, dude, Ross and Justin, they're probably open level pipers, but they're not open level on paper, right?
Sure. They could be, but they're just focusing on other stuff or something. It's by choice that they're not playing in open.
Yeah. Well, and it's, Justin got invited to the amateur Nickel Brown this year. And I mean, high prestige. Like that's a high achievement.
He didn't ask to go. He got invited to go.
Exactly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, but he has to go through this debate, right? Does he go open? And if he does, now, there's only so many of those competitions around. So he needs to go travel to places to actually compete. It's like he can't just walk in at Salt Lake and be like, yo, I'm going to sign up and I'm going to solo. It's like Salt Lake doesn't offer open.
Right.
You can solo grade 1, but you're not a grade 1 piper. You're an open piper. So
it's hard enough to find grade 1 competitions anyway. And even that field is so small that it can be frustratingly so, even at Salt Lake, he might walk in there and there are plenty of years where he'd be one of 2, maybe 3 who are competing. And so it's like, you kind of want to see a larger field for sure.
Right. So I think some people's ability can be there, and then it's just like, no, I can't make that commitment, or there's too much red tape, or too many things to think about. So, but anyway, but we do have high level pipers beyond a grade 2 level playing with us. We have grade 1 pipers. We have Ross and Justin, who, like I say, I've got bandmates telling me, yeah, they're open. I don't know enough. I only hear them at rehearsal when we're all playing together. So. But and who am I to be a judge, right?
Well, I just, as an outsider looking in at Wasatch District, there are so many things about the group that it seems like an El Dorado of bagpiping. It's massive and seems to be very well oiled in the way that it functions. Moving from one band to the next, there are a lot of systems in place. Yeah. There are full music boards, etc. And then you add to that this level of playing, this individual level of talent. It's I'm really happy that you're able to be there.
Thank you. I'm happy to be there. It's a lot of fun. But you should, there are things. I walked into the system and I was like, man, they have some things figured out.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, and I've heard this from people that are much better than me and people that are playing at grade 1 band level. Every band struggles with a lot of the same things. So part of the thing I was sitting through with Stuart Little, it was a 2-day workshop. It was all geared toward leadership, toward pipe majors, pipe sergeants, drum sergeants, and group after group. It was groups of 3 people, right? So it was very, very directed.
I remember this training, man. Mm-hmm. I wanted to sign up for it. I was like, man, I wonder if Garden Valley could get us in there. But even before I could even suggest it, it was filled up. That filled right up.
So, but you would be surprised, every group of 3, which is basically every band that signed up, every group of 3 is coming in with the same thing. I'm having a problem getting everybody out to rehearssil.
Or I don't have any
problems
drummers.
with people not showing up with their stuff together.
Yeah.
And, whether that's music memorized or
uniform parts or uniforms that aren't ironed.
Instrument maintained, every band. So yes, one of the things I'll point out about Wasatch, right, is they've organized themselves very much like a corporation in the sense that like there's all these roles to fill and like everyone's got different responsibilities, and I get it. Part of that is you have a bunch of people that are so motivated that they're practicing like every day and they're becoming better at piping and they love the culture, and then they're grade 1 or grade 2 piper, and their entire life revolves around pipes. And so when it's like, hey, do you want to volunteer to be a leadership in this piping organization and further the piping culture? And then it's like you have a bunch of volunteers, but then they have the same problems, right? Sometimes they don't have enough volunteers. Like everyone's got the same problems, right?
And there might be matters of scale, of course, where, where like with Garden Valley, where we're smaller, we might be like, well, if we had we need 1 or 2 more people to fill positions on these boards. But then Wasatch and District might have a dearth of a dozen people since they're just a lot more. There's a lot more people, a lot more
bodies,
stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, you still have people that are showing up not with their stuff together. So like,
never yourself, of course.
The grass is always greener, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I am playing at that grade 2 band, and that is awesome, and I love it. And that, I mean, on paper, that says that the band is at a different level of playing than a grade 4 band. So in that sense, I wouldn't say the grass is greener, right? But like, don't think that they have no problems.
Sure.
It's like, I mean, I remember a couple weeks ago, it's like, hey guys, your blowing sucks. Nobody's confident in their music, and so they're all easing back on the pressure, and their drones are going everywhere, and people are choking out. And then we have big clingers where somebody throws a big fat low G in there when we're up on the top hand, and like the problems exist,
Mm-hmm.
But so as far as soloing goes, I just can't. I don't have the time right now.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you'd have the time
to have all my stuff together, to learn 30 tunes and to have them all confident up at that grade 2 level, and then work on my solo stuff, right? And I do not feel good if I walk up to Salt Lake or wherever we compete, and it's like, I'm going to go lay down my 3 solo tunes, and my pipe major is sitting back there like, your 3 solo tunes, you've been working on those? Because like, you only have one of the 2 MSRs figured out.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So
you can't be like, whoa, these are solo tunes that I knew from before.
That's right, yeah, exactly.
Well, hey man, do you have any like pre-performance ritual that you go through night before, day of, be it to do with music or memorization or uniform parts or anything like that? Any sort of stuff that you like to do before you go out to solo or to play with a band, whether it's a competition or otherwise?
I think I don't have any like traditions. I definitely can't sleep. I get wicked nervous. I tell you, like, I don't have a lot of solo experience, and I can already see as I learn and grow and do things better. I know that like I've done some major no-nos, like playing every 5 minutes for an hour and a half before I go on.
Yeah.
It's like, like in my mind, I'm like, okay, I have an hour and a half. I got to get my pipes out. Got to put them together. I got to make sure there's no problems. And so I do that. Good. Except that's a sour note. So I put my pipes down and then I pick them back up after 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, let's fix that sour note. And then I do that. And then it's like, okay, set them down. And then like 5 minutes later, it's like, let's check them, make sure I'm not drifting out of tune. And I check them. And then it's like 5 minutes later, it's like, let's play again and let's work out that last part I was having problems with. My hands are still kind of cold. And I do this every 5 minutes for an hour and a half.
Right.
And by the time it comes to play, it's like my pipes sound like crap. Not that they don't sound like crap, but like
they sounded better an hour before, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is something I'm learning, and it's now 20 years in the learning process, right? But
yeah,
your pipes get into your pipes get in sounding good at that 20-minute mark.
Mm-hmm.
maybe 25 if it takes a long time for your pipes to settle. And you've got from about 20 minutes of playing to about 40 minutes of playing, and then they start losing that shine, right? And like you might still be able to be in tune, and your reed isn't totally squeaky squawky because you've got some moisture in there, and so it's vibrating and stuff like that. But just as you become, it's the same thing when you listen to all the grade 1 bands compete at Worlds. The more experienced you are in piping or understanding what you're listening to or the music in general, you start picking out more subtleness, right? Mm-hmm. So as I'm continually trying to get better, I'm learning more and more of this subtleness in sound and tone. And I look back now and it's like, oh, I've lost all that subtleness. Yes, I can get my pipes in tune, but I'm tired, my lips are loose, and I've lost a little bit of the sparkle out of the instrument. So like that, I mean, that's a no-no that I used to do that a lot. And so like, I'm really focusing on that more recently. Mm-hmm. In like, do not overplay, do not overplay, do not overplay. But the other thing is like, I would say, if there's something I'm going to do, again, that I haven't done, like this year's been crazy too, right? We haven't done any solos all year. So I've learned a ton that year with Garden Valley, moved on to play with the grade 2, and I've learned a ton with grade 2. And then I haven't been able to implement those in a competition setting yet. Mm. So one of the things though that I wanted to make mention of is when I was getting ready to try out for Wasatch's grade 2, I started playing 5 or 6 times a week for about 40 minutes. And it doesn't have to
up on your pipes, right?
Yes, on the actual pipe instrument, not the practice chanter. And I mean, I did it for a couple reasons. Like 1, I went to all cane drone reeds, and 2, I switched out to a leather bag, specifically a goat skin bag. But so they say that goat is more similar to sheep than it is cowhide, and so sheep, you need to keep the moisture level like consistent. Don't let your bag dry out. Put time and moisture into it every day. Same with cane drone reeds. You want to keep a constant humidity level. You don't want them to fluctuate up and down, up and down, up and down, or like dry and wet, dry and wet. So that was part of my motivation. And then 2, it was like, I need to work out my MSR. I'm competing with my MSR. So it's just like, I just drilled those 3 tunes every single day. And I was recording myself. And like those 6 weeks, my piping improved so extremely, like dramatically. More words that I describe that I don't know because I'm not English, right? How's that for a sentence? I hope Sean loves that one, right? So
is that a plug for the Andrew Douglas 100-day challenge?
Oh, dude, like, sure, yeah, do it. No, but like for sure. But like, here's the point. If I didn't do any of that, let's say I totally was not doing what I'm supposed to, and I wasn't playing every day. If I was going to prepare myself for competition, I would start 1 week before, and I would play like 20 minutes. Let's say I'm competing Saturday. I'd start Monday at the latest, right? If not Sunday. And I would go 20 minutes on my pipes. And then Tuesday, I'd go 20 minutes on my pipes. Even if it's not to hash out your music and work out troublesome spots. Maybe you're like, I can't improve in a week. Doesn't matter. Just putting humidity. Like, I don't even care about... I think there's probably something to be said to get your reeds actually vibrating. But at the very, very, very minimum, if you just put 20 minutes of hot, humid breath through your instrument and your reeds, if you did it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you came on Saturday, your instrument would be in a completely different state. Like the stability of your reeds the airtightness of your bag. Like, this is something, when you play a sheepskin bag and your bag dries out and you go to play, it's hard because the pores aren't as sealed up. And then you put 15 minutes of moisture in there and the leather soaks it up, tightens up, and all of a sudden your bag's airtight again. So I guess all I'm trying to emphasize is there's such an extremely like large amount of instrument quality or maintenance or however you want to word it that has to do with consistently putting moisture through your instrument. Right? So like if I did nothing else, just try to get time on your instrument. Now, and that's not even to talk about like the improving of your playing, because as you improve, as you play every day, of course you're going to improve your ability.
Yeah, your fingers will get more dexterous, your lung capacity, et cetera, et cetera. But
like I would, a couple weeks before, I just make sure my maintenance is on point. Everything's tight like it should be. Everything's dialed in, air efficient. And then I would just keep the humidity going. I think about like things we did in the old days when I was real young. Like we'd get ready for competition. So it was like practice every day. Or I should say rehearsal, right? Meet as a band and rehearse every day. And we did it Monday, and we did it Tuesday, and we did it Wednesday, and we did it Thursday. And then Friday was either travel day or we just took a break because we had done so much.
Yeah.
I look back now and it's like things are dialed in. By Thursday, people's instruments, they've had moisture in them, they're good. If you've had moisture problems, you've figured it out. Like maybe you have to let your reed dry out a little bit. Maybe you have to nuke your kitty litter in the microwave. Maybe you had to open up your drone reeds because they're collecting moisture and shutting off. By Thursday, you've got it figured out. And then we would take Friday off and just let everything dry. And then disaster on Saturday. Because you just lost the consistency.
Had all that momentum, all that run up.
And
then those 24 hours of nothing.
Yep.
Just kill it all.
Yep. I mean, like when you look at like Yori Chisholm, he's got that new product of his that's it's a chanter cap that maintains a consistent humidity level. And the same thing like the Piper's Pal, like there's products out on the market that are designed to maintain consistent humidity for a reason, because your pipes sound better. It's the same reason we warm up before we tune. Like part of it's heat. As we add more heat, it gets sharper, but part of it is that moisture, getting back into that cane reed.
You think this is something that maybe isn't as much of a worry in a humid place like the British Isles, but in a place like in the high desert like in Utah, it's like particularly important just because things dry out so quickly and so completely?
I mean, I haven't played anywhere where I've stayed. Like, I guess what I'm saying is like, I've traveled 2 places to play, but I've never been somewhere away from Utah, like with my pipes for like a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks to see how my instrument reacts. Nor did I have the knowledge when I was that young. Because like, I guess I have gone to Seattle for a week with my pipes, things like that. But I do know that people above my level, grade 1 pipers that I know have played in other climates around the world and they maintain their instrument differently, Like my cane reeds, my cane drone reeds, like I pull them out of my pipes, I stick them in with a humidity packet and I maintain their humidity. But I know people like that have played in Scotland, it's like, oh, I need to get my reeds out, let them dry, and make sure I'm not collecting moisture tomorrow.
Right.
So, yeah, I would say climate affects it. Although I just have to take the word of other people because I haven't experienced that.
I have thought before about how lucky I am to have played with a high school pipe band, just because, I mean, when you're a teenager, you got more time. But when it's a class that's in your class schedule, so you're there at least every other day, I certainly didn't appreciate then just what a help that was to have that consistency. I mean, not only that, but you have like homework assignments and stuff like that, that really keep you going.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, I tried to talk a lot about that consistency on your instrument for the sake of the sound of the instrument, but I attribute a lot of where my skill level was when I was in high school to the frequency of practice, right?
Yeah.
So let's say after I got out of the chanter class and I was in the high school, there was a point when I played marching band in the morning.
What did you play in marching band?
Bagpipes.
Oh, that's right. They were combined at the time.
At that time, they were part of the marching band, yeah.
Yeah, at Payson High School, they were part of the marching band group.
So we'd have early morning, we'd have marching band. And then, we had the A-day, B-day schedule. So let's, for the sake of making this show you how extreme piping and rehearsal was, I'm just going to say they all fell on the same day.
So early morning, how many hours are you at that marching band?
I don't even remember. It's been so long ago. What time did we get there?
When I did marching band in Payson, it was 5 a.m. During the school year, it was 5 to 7. So 2 hours.
No, that wasn't for us. I mean, didn't school start at 8 for us?
Yeah,
so
about 8.
I remember us ending at like 7:50. So I think we probably started at like 6:30. I remember, maybe that's not right. I think I remember getting picked up like 10 minutes to 6 and we were supposed to be there at 6. Who knows? At least an hour. So we played marching band in the morning. Depending on if it's A-day or B-day, we could have a pipe class because there was an actual class at the high school for the band.
That's
so we'd have pipe
hour
class
and a half, right?
That morning. Yeah. And then I was a teacher's aide. So I would go down to the junior high and I would aid Don Smith in teaching the chanter class.
So that's like, that would have been like 45 minutes probably?
Yeah. Short schedule. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe they did A-day, B-day. So maybe it was an hour and a half as well. I don't remember. We had, like on Fridays, we did after school rehearsal. So it could be that I had an after school rehearsal that same day. If it was Thursdays, I had White Peaks. So I'd go play with White Peaks. I had private lessons. And those are the things that I had to show up to. Right. And I had to do. This isn't like my own time I'm putting on at home, practicing and learning the tunes and stuff like that. So just the amount of time that I spent playing my pipes.
Yeah, one day you could easily have been at 8, maybe even 10 hours on your pipes.
Yeah. I mean, that might be a little bit extreme, but at least an hour in the morning and then an hour and a half, and then you're an hour and a half for
there'd be at least
instructing, and then after school rehearsal. I mean, at least there was days when it was easily 6 hours for sure. Maybe that was the same day I had a private lesson, and maybe I went home and rehearsed and practiced on my own. So yeah. But I guess what the point of that is a lot of practice time. A lot of practice time to get better. So
let me see if I can sort of package up a takeaway from this conversation here. For me personally, here's what I'm feeling called to on a spiritual level with my bagpiping. Consistency is key.
100%.
And Ruben actually brought this up when he was talking about playing the drums as well. Sort of his advice was, even if it's only 5 minutes every day, something. Do at least something every day. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't that part of Andrew Douglas's 100-day challenge thing, is that it doesn't matter how long, as long as it's something every day.
I think his is one tune, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So consistency is key.
Yeah.
And the second thing that I feel like I'm hearing out of all this is you've got to love the process, because that's probably good advice for anything in life. If you're focusing on a goal, it's hard to get there. When you get there, then there's nothing to do after that. So you've got to learn to love the process, but also, maybe especially with bagpipes, so much of what is that moment of performance or that moment of competition is in the background in the days, weeks, and even months leading up to that moment. A really obvious thing would be on competition day when you see the band, spends way more time tuning than they actually spend playing. There's way more prep than there is show. But it extends so far beyond that. So I'm thinking I need to be more consistent in my playing. I need to love that process. Find things that I really enjoy about fine-tuning the drones and
I mean, that's what it was for me, right?
Yeah.
I think, I learn and I grow and I change my opinion on things. But for me, loving the instrument, loving the music, the culture, the friendship, the competitions, people walking around with Irish dogs at a Scottish festival with fake Scottish accents. I mean, I like it. So it makes it easy to consume my time and put in that consistency. But like, I think people can get really good and consistent at something that they don't absolutely love. And maybe that makes them miserable. Maybe they just put up with it. Maybe they're just indifferent to it. So I wouldn't say that's the hard, fast rule, but like, I would think that loving something makes it that much easier.
Mm-hmm.
But, if I've talked to you before, not on the podcast, about a guy I know. He's a professor at Stanford. His name is BJ Fogg, and he talks about habits. And like, I hope I get to sit down with you again and do like however many more, 6 more, 12 more episodes of this and get into different aspects and things like that. But he's all about habits. And one takeaway, I don't know how long you want to go tonight, but like we're going for a minute.
Yeah, we should probably wrap up soon, but I definitely want to do at least a dozen more episodes together. So
sweet. So one thing I'll say is to make it easy, and that's the idea with the piping challenge, the 100-day challenge. Playing one tune is easier than saying like go put 45 minutes on your pipes.
Right.
When you make something easy, then you're more likely to make it consistent and habitual, right? A habit. It's a lot easier to find the motivation. You don't need as much motivation to like play one tune on your pipes a day versus 45 minutes. And then that plays into it, right? Once your pipes are up on your shoulder and you've already played once and the reed's got a little bit of moisture and so it's eased up a little bit, it's like, let's play another tune.
Yeah, you're like,
I
got
12
enough.
measures.
I'll play another. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do that one more time, stuff like that. And then you end up playing 45 minutes after all, but
like,
it was easier.
It was the same thing. Like when I talked about the 6 weeks where I was playing 6 days a week, getting ready for Wasatch, it was like, I made things easy on me. I had my pipes with me at work. And when I left, I went 2 blocks to a city park and played there. So it was like, it was on my way and I had my instrument with me. And I had that time, I had that time set apart. It wasn't like, because like I'm at home, right? And it's like, I don't want to play at home. Like my parrot is going to scream.
Oh, we should do a whole episode about your parrot. That's right.
That's right, yeah. Am I going to be making my neighbor upset? Okay, so I don't want to play in the house. So do I go lock myself in the garage? Well, I'm in a condo and my garage is detached from my house. So I got to go walk out there. Or I need to walk to my clubhouse and I don't want to play if there's somebody at the clubhouse.
There might be a family over there or something.
Yeah, like so, right?
So you remove barriers, make it easy.
Exactly, you make it easy, right? Like the park I went to in Linden, it's like it's tucked away in some neighborhood where nobody goes, but it's a massive park. So I'd go like way out into the corner, away from all the houses. Like the park borders an industrial zone. Like they've all left because it's 5:00, nobody's working. I feel comfortable way out there. It's 2 blocks from my work. My instrument's with me. And once I've gone 3, 4, 5, 6 days, it's like, man, my bag is airtight. My reeds already have moisture right when I pull them out. They're sounding good. And I'm seeing progress because I'm recording myself every day and just hammering out bits and pieces and cha-cha-cha. And then, yeah.
Well, it makes it more of a joy to do it too. Because you're,
yeah,
by the very nature of being in that habit, it gets easier to do it the next day in so many ways.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, let's use this to kind of button up the episode.
Sure.
If money were no object, and this might change from time to time, but right now, if money were no object, what is the either piece of bagpiping equipment, be it instrument or uniform or anything else, or like travel, like what's the sort of bagpipey thing that you would do right now?
Oh, man. I mean, there's immediately 2 things on my mind.
Give me both.
Okay, I want to go see Worlds.
Sure.
Okay. The other thing is, I have been looking at a specific set of pipes. And so...
Is this the set when I called you the other day? You said, sorry, man, I'm window shopping.
Yeah, no, yes. So, again, as I learn and grow and get better, I'm looking for subtleties. I'm listening to different pipers' pipes and the different pipes they play and the different chanter reeds and like stuff I never paid attention to or could have heard the difference of when I was younger and more inexperienced. So, I have really become I've really become like akin. Is that even the right word? You know what? I don't English. So I've been really liking the sound of old McDougall bagpipes.
I've heard that name, but I don't know if I've ever heard the pipes.
Yeah. I don't know that I want to play a super old set of bagpipes.
Yeah.
I think I'd be nervous about taking care of them or cracking or, I mean, I guess part of the reason is the money, right? But you said money's no object.
Right.
So
money's no object. So yeah, you go ahead and take that off the table.
I'd say a set of McDougalls.
Mm-hmm.
What I've really been eyeing is a new reproduction set by Dunbar and Jim McGilvery. But I would take like an old vintage set, like 1890s, 1900.
Man, museum piece.
Just to say that I had it.
Right? Oh yeah,
because money's no object.
Just to make everybody drool over it.
Yeah, yeah.
Would those reproduction pieces be easier to tune up with a band?
So they say that I don't. My understanding is that.
Because I've heard that can be a challenge with these older sets. They're great to play by yourself, but they can be difficult to tune in with modern sets.
Right. So like, okay, so McDougall's a whole ball of wax, and so are vintage pipes, right? For instance, Dave Atherton has like the trademark or the copyright to use the name McDougall, right? And like even when you go shop for Jim McGilvery's, and they're coming out of Canada and Dunbar, it talks about how like they are not associated with Dave Atherton or his McDougalls, even though they're both made off of old vintage McDougalls that they've pulled the specs off of.
Like for legal reasons, they have to clarify that there's no association and stuff like that.
I don't know how close to spec they are to the originals. You always hear them talking about drone bores, and I think that's a lot of what gives it their sound.
Yeah.
Jim McGilvery's set, the contours, the combing, the beating, everything, like that's really made to reproduce the set he had, while Dave Atherton's, the bore specs are the same, and so in theory you get the same sound. But he does his own profiles. But I don't know if they're making the length of the drones the exact same.
There you could have that pitch difference.
Yeah, like I know that the interior bore diameter is going to change pitch, but also the length of the pipe.
Yeah.
But that being said, I don't think they would change the interior bore specs because that's what everyone's changing to get a different blend between bass and tenor. So I don't really know if they would be difficult or not to tune up. But like playing cane reeds, and you can even do this with synthetic, I do things to bring up the pitch anyway, right? Like I stuff a sticky tack poster putty down the nose of my cane reed, and I'll even trim off the end that goes up into the drone seat, into the reed seat, to make that entire drone reed shorter, to bring up the pitch, because I'm trying to get my tuning pins lengthened out, right? I'm trying to get the tops of my drones at the tops of my tuning pins, and so I have to do things to sharpen up my cane reeds.
Yeah, so
just
then
to
you
get
have
them
to
up
make
there.
up for it at the other end of the drone reed, or rather of the drone.
And so vintage pipes are going to be flatter as far as drones go. So I would opt to alter the reed or get a set of reeds designed or made to play at that higher pitch.
Sure. Rather than
put in the tuning screw, shorten the tongue length, trim the reed of the body in overall length down, things like that. And I think you could make it work. I mean, there's plenty of people playing at Worlds in grade 1 bands with vintage pipes that are making the 482, 44, 46 pitch. So not something I'd be worried about.
Clearly doable without having to chop an inch off of the end of your vintage drone.
Yeah. And then, of course, they're all playing current chanters, right?
Yeah.
So you just got to get those drones up in pitch to match the chanter. So.
Well, cool, man. Thanks again.
Oh, I really appreciate it.